Dude, I love that you still have like the same backdrop. Like, can we
What?
talk about that?
I love that you're now in a fancy hotel.
Dude, imagine like like if you walked into my house, this would not be the aesthetic. Like
No,
you
I know.
literally think aesthetic. This is
Well,
you can tell this is obviously a fancy hotel.
I know. I mean, I feel so. On the one hand, it's like usually I hate these kind of junket setups where it's all professionally manicured and we're gonna have these cool graphics. But on the other hand,
Yeah.
this is like the first time we got two Tamils in a junket setup, right? Like, yo, like when it's never happened
Pretty
for us
cool.
before. I'm so excited about this. It's we're moving on up.
I'm on a whole nother level. Ben gets my super brainy side. Paxton gets my mega horny side. Whole nother level.
You kissing? Your father's ashes have barely begun to drift out to sea.
I just got overcome with emotion.
What are you gonna do at my funeral? Just have sex on top of my grave? I pray it's a closed casket.
Yeah, I mean, look. Okay, we got look. Last time we talked in an interview setting. It was actually before you went off to LA to shoot Never Have I Ever, and the second season, I mean, listen. Since then, New York Times puts you in the top 3 best actors of the year. Time Magazine puts you on the cover. Entertainment Weekly, you're on their cover right now. Like, can you leave some accomplishments and achievements behind for the rest of us Tamils? Like, do you just have to keep eating? Like, what is going on here?
Hey, relax. Okay, there's all the accomplishments for everybody else. Okay,
I don't know.
You know what? I take it like this: if I can do it, they can do it. Trust me. The rest of the thumbs can do it. 100%.
100.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Well, let's go back to that time though, because I mean, when we were talking before you went to start shooting it, and Never Have I Ever, like for the second season, you were anxious. There was like you were going there the midst of the COVID crisis, plus the pressures of a second season, which I guess there was more pressure this time because now you knew there was expectations. So, so talk to me about like then arriving and getting back to work. Did the pressure wash away, or was this sustained?
Yeah, no, actually, like that's funny that you say that because I think like you were the first interviewer that I actually like properly talked to about that, like the pressure of like this is like sort of scary. Like this isn't easy, like it feels like a lot. But when I got to set, that definitely didn't go away like right away. I was definitely nervous, and it was like a little bit of like okay, you're gonna be fine. You have to like mentally prep yourself every morning of like it's gonna be okay, you got this, just like stay in the game, don't get too in your head. If you get too in your head, then you're really not going to be there and you're shooting yourself in the foot, and then that same spiral that I was talking to you about before. So now like I'm totally okay, but when we were filming in the beginning, it was rough. And I remember just thinking to myself like, all right, you know what, like I am done worrying every single day because it is mentally exhausting. It is so mentally exhausting and just like tiring to worry like, oh my god, did I mess up today? Like, oh my god, like it's screwed, like we can't do reshoots, like that day's just gonna suck, this scene is ruined, I'm done. Like, you know what, like okay, whatever. I just don't care. I just want to have fun. And I trust Mindy and Lang and honestly the entire crew and cast to just tell me and bluntly say like, yo, what was that? What did you just do? So they didn't say that. So I think we're okay.
Maitri, like your performance in this, I mean, there's just a whole new confidence to you. I mean, I really felt like, okay, like she's going there with not just with the emotional performances, but with the physical comedy. Like there's a lot there. I mean, did you just feel more comfortable and more willing to put yourself out there in the role this time? And I feel like the role also, what they wrote for you, they push you further as well.
I think this season I was very more like, I was focused on like, okay, season 1, we were learning, okay? We were learning the ropes. But now we're like tying the knots. We're like, Scouts Canada, reef knot, clove hitch with these ropes here, okay? We got the ropes, we're doing it up. Yeah, honestly, this season I was like, okay, I'm gonna wow everyone and also wow myself. I wanna walk away being absolutely proud of myself when I finish an emotional scene. Like this season, I call it the crying week. And I'm sure like, like you can probably guess when that had to happen, but every single day in that week, I had to cry, like bawl my eyes out in some way or another, or I was yelling and screaming, or something was happening. And I remember feeling so proud of myself at the end of that. I was like, oh my God, you're like waterworks up in here. Niagara Falls, Canadian side of it though, because, like the Canadian side is like better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really proud of myself. And I guess I trusted myself more. I was less like worried about the technicalities, and I was like, okay, we're gonna get a little creative up in here. So I also felt like I had more room to play.
But what about the physical comedy? Like, what about the scenes where you're sliding against a locker to sneak in the room, and like, like the way, and even like when your mother's like running to open the door to Anissa, this little troll hustle she does. Like, they upped the game in terms of physical comedies this year, I think, right?
Yeah, 100%. The sliding on the lockers, that was I asked if I could do that, just because I thought it was just so like lame, and I was just. Well, a part of that too is I think as a cast, we're all very we're a lot more comfortable with each other. So when I'm doing that, creeping up on Lee and Ramona, that's probably something I would normally do to them if I was just really hyper. And I would probably just creep up on them, like slide against the wall and be like, hey. So we had a lot of fun with that scene. I love that scene so much.
That was all my tree right there then.
Yeah. Oh my God. I really felt my soul in those boy outfits. I felt my soul. But no, the whole physical comedy, I think that just comes with that comfort of knowing your character, and obviously the writers now, they're phenomenal, but the writers now know us as actors and people, so they're also sort of writing for us in a way, and then we're comfortable as a cast, we're comfortable as cast to writers and directors to have these open conversations to see, hey, can we try this out? And that's how those things happen. I
mean, speaking of, can I shoot to an embarrassing moment then? Like,
do it, please.
Like, there's a scene where you're pursuing Paxton out of your house, and I love the double step you take. You have to run down some stairs, and you're like, in an emotional moment, and you're like,
dude, that's just also okay. So, in my mind, I remember when we did the marketing rehearsal of it. I was I looked down because I don't want to fall. That would suck.
Yeah.
But I then was like, you know what? Davey doesn't want to fall either.
right.
I remember thinking I could just run down, look straight ahead. Paxton, no. But then I was like, yeah, Paxton, just hang on. Let me get down real quick. Then I'll keep my pace up, okay? But right now, we're safe. Yeah, I love that. Thanks for catching that. I wonder how many people catch that.
It's I told you, I'm scanning that performance, and I was like, I thought it was hilarious because it's like Davey doesn't want to have another Coyote moment where she's the physical fall guy, right? So
I mean, yeah, she falls a lot.
Okay. So my favorite episode of this season is the 4th episode for a lot of reasons. Okay, I mean, this is obviously the episode. I mean, it's from the record scratch in the beginning to the needle drop at the end. I think it's the most well written, most well directed episode. So we got to shout out Amina Munir and Lena Khan for putting that episode together. And of course, it's an episode that really touched my heart, because it's okay, this is now Davey dealing with the new Indian student Anissa, right? I mean, of course, Anissa carries on to other episodes, but that's where we're introduced to her, and that jealousy your character has, I mean, that's a real thing, right? That's I mean, part of the reason why that episode really connects is there's this, and I don't know how true it is for you versus for me, my generation, but there was a scarcity mentality that kept us believing that there could only be one. Okay, no, I gotta be the brown, Davey's got to be the brown girl in the school, and somebody else can't take that. I got to be, the Tamil guy in media, and all of there's this kind of, we're fighting for our space.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that true for you, or is that something I mean, just because I feel like you're part of a new generation, I don't know if you would be afflicted by that kind of scarcity mentality the way people my age and Mindy's age would have been affected by it.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was Davey's age, in high school, I don't think I was affected by it so directly. I also realized when I was in high school, I never thought people were racist towards me or sexist towards me until I looked back and was like, oh, those are all microaggressions, even if they didn't mean it. As a reflection, but at that time, I didn't think that was the case.
Yeah.
But now in obviously the industry, I actually that was something that I saw of the fact that there's this idea that there can only be one, and it's so lame, and it sucks, because when I'll speak for South Asians, as a South Asian, when someone makes it, we want to say hey, open the doors for the rest of us, right? And obviously that's what we'd want and hope for. But then when they don't open the door for the rest of us, it's ouch, why would you do that? You worked so hard to get there. Don't you understand why you should open the door for us? But then in their head, they're saying, yeah, I worked so hard to get here. I don't have the energy to open the door. And it's come on, man. You want to get mad at them for not, twisting that doorknob. you understand why they're tired, because their hand is really, really broken. Like the arthritis is real in that hand to want to open the doorknob, you know?
Right.
So I don't blame them. It sucks. It really sucks. And it's something that I've noticed, and I hope that never happens to me. I truly want to always open the door for other people to like enter. Wow, phone's ringing. I'm sorry. I don't know if you can pick that up, but I always want to like open the door for other people. I hope that's always how it's going to be. But I know and realize that, yeah, the scarcity problem with pitting also people of color against other people of color, it's so real, and it's so unfortunate, because it's not just like, hey, get over it. Realize that you guys can both be here. It's way more complicated than that, because it comes from a place of hurt and a place of just wanting to belong. Davy just wants to belong, but she admits it. She's jealous. She was just jealous and felt like there couldn't be room for the two of us, but she was more than wrong.
Let me ask you about the grandmother plot.
Yeah.
This, right? Because there's something so familiar about that. You know, Davy's grandmother moves in, the way you have to spend time with her. Did it? And I mean, you live with your grandmother, don't you? Or,
Yeah.
So I mean, like, was that all familiar to you? That kind of generational dynamic in the household?
I actually think my favorite new character is Nirmala. Also Ranjita, amazing. Shout out to her. She is an amazing actor.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was growing up, never had a babysitter, never went to daycare. I would always go to my grandma's house after school. And now my grandma lives with me. So that's something that's definitely familiar. And for a majority of my life, I actually lived with myself, then my mom, then my grandma, and then my great grandma. So a 4-generational household of women. And I thought that was awesome. But yeah, no, the plot between Davy and her grandma is so like heartwarming, and I think it's something that if we get a season 3, it would be awesome to expand on. And I remember specifically like making sure that Davy's never like, you know, bored or like grossed out by her like grandma, like bored when she's like watching the, you know, Weather Channel. But you know, she never ungrateful for her grandma. She really does love her grandma. When she sees her walk through the door, she's like, oh my god, like Bati, like you're here. This is awesome. Yeah.
You know, funny tidbit, I had to sit and watch my grandma watch the O.J. Simpson trial, and I couldn't understand why she watched every minute of that, but it was fascinating shit. But, yeah.
My grandma has watched Death Note with me, like the anime.
Oh wow. Yeah.
My grandma has watched Death Note with me.
Yeah.
Shout out to grandmas.
So last time when season 1 was beginning, you had answered some questions from my children because they became immediate fans. They couldn't be here today, but my son did have Coach Angle had a question for you that he relayed to me. So that'll be the last question. After watching this season, his question was, in high school, when did you feel like you most belonged?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I felt like I most belonged in my last year of high school, after lots of drama happened and I figured out like who was really there for me, all that kind of shenanigans. But I realized it was also the first time in my life I felt actually really proud of myself. It was when I finished my grade 12 drama exam, where I wrote and helped direct the play, but I wrote the whole play, and it was like an hour long, and I finished it. And at that moment I realized in my high school career, and I didn't take drama in my first 2 years of high school, but I was already like a secondary character in a musical, a lead in the play, a lead in the musical. I directed and I've written a play. I basically did it all. Like I was like the Meadowvale, like, you know, all-star. If there was like the Meadowvale all-star games, I did it. And I was really proud of myself. And I was like, I feel like this is where I belong, in this creative space right here. That's where I belong. And if that creative space only exists with just me, and sometimes it has more people, so be it. Yeah, it was like a weirdly emotional moment for me, and I was like, ew, gross.
Yeah.
I was just, you know, like, okay, whatever. I'm proud of myself, I guess.
Well, it's a good way to end high school, right? And then start it over again as soon as you hit never have I. It's like, all right. Well, listen, Maitri, thank you so much for spending the time with us. Congratulations on season 2. You know, of course, you know, it's so exciting, and I can't wait for everyone to see it. And I will see you when you get back to Toronto.
Yeah, I'll see you then.